Hey guys, it's Poohead189, and let me start off by saying that if you're wanting information on Dragon Ball for this video, this ain't it. This is not the video for you. This video is completely my opinion and my analysis of the Chi-Chi controversy. I'll even have less information from the text than with the Was Yamcha a Cheater video, because at least there, we have to look for clues in the text. Here, it's extremely straightforward. It's just a contentious topic. Although, much like the Yamcha argument, this controversy does have the same symptoms of people speaking past one another, and as usual, it devolves into either a culture war or a gender war. The controversy, of course, is Chi-Chi arriving at the battlefield after the Z-Fighters defeat Vegeta, and she sees both Gohan and Goku on the ground. Goku is closer to her, yet she runs and leaps over Goku without even looking his way to go and check on Gohan, whom Krillin is now holding. And as I said, the arguments on whether Chi-Chi was justified doing this are generally ignored, and people who support Chi-Chi are considered monsters for picking and choosing her loved ones, and they must be poor spouses, and the people who don't support Chi-Chi are considered woman-hating idiots who just don't get it and must be bad parents. Obviously, you can think one way or the other, and you don't have to be either of these, but people simply speak past each other and then start yelling insults and slurs and all manner of bad things. And since I didn't want to get involved in that, but I still wanted to give my opinion on the whole subject, I decided to make this video. Before we begin though, let me just say that I have a real soft spot for the Sun family, and not just because they're the main family of the setting. You know, I don't really place the idea of representation up very highly, because I feel like it alters the unfiltered ideas and portrayals of the creator's mind and brings in an aspect to the creative process that generally does more harm than good. Like, as a writer myself, I don't like putting a check mark on what I should or should not put into my work. And I also think that you don't need to see someone who is of the same sex or race as you to empathize with them. However, I will say that it can be good sometimes, and I experienced that firsthand as a kid. When I was a little kid, I looked quite a lot like Kid Gohan, actually. I had the same dark features, the same bowl cut he had on Namek. I looked like him wearing his little backpack, and also my parents were a lot like his. My dad was an amateur bodybuilder in college, and even when I was younger, he was still really strong. He's still pretty strong now, actually. And he was laid back, goofy, and though he was a good dad, he was definitely more of the carefree parent. And I looked to him as my role model, kind of like how Gohan looked to Goku. My mom, however, was a lot like Chi-Chi. She was way more strict than my dad. She was always talking about schoolwork and chores. She always had a schedule. And when she got mad, the whole house knew. My dad made decisions when he needed to, and he did do some cooking as well. But Mom was the one that was super responsible and always nagging and disciplining me and my little brother. And of course, Gohan became an older brother like I was. In fact, I remember one day while I was watching DBZ as a kid, my dad walked by and looked at the screen and saw Gohan and said I looked just like him. And I remember I ran to the bathroom, looked in the mirror, and was so excited that he was right. I did look just like Gohan. And even though today my favorite characters are Tien, Goku, and future Gohan, and that I kind of identify more with them now, the reason I'm saying all this is because I quite enjoy the Sun family unit during the Saiyan and Namek sagas, and I hold nothing against Goku, Gohan, or Chi-Chi because they really reminded me of my own family when I was a small kid. So please don't think that I have anything against any of them when I analyze this. But okay, here it goes. Now, we need to establish here that the main controversy is from an anime screenshot, not a manga screenshot. And so, if we look at anything, we'll probably look at the anime a bit more. However, during the arguments, people were still mentioning the manga, and the manga has a panel that literally matches the anime, as you see here on the screen. Now, before I dive into the jump, I first need to talk about something that was super wild, and that was that Chi-Chi blamed Goku for Gohan getting into this predicament, and people on Twitter were agreeing with that. And as much as I want to be as concise as possible, I don't even know how to fucking start with that sort of take. In fact, that is not helping your case in defending Chi-Chi if that is the case that you make. If Toriyama is writing someone who is acting insane and clearly no other character agrees with them in universe, and you're defending that, like, that just means that you're dumber than anyone Toriyama can conceive of, if that is your position. So let me just say, I hope you're not allowed to vote, and I hope you're not permitted to operate heavy machinery if you actually think that this was Goku's fault. Though I will spell it out for people just in case. Goku died to save Gohan's life, and when Piccolo kidnapped Gohan, Goku was already dead. Then when Goku was wished back, he saved Gohan's life, twice, and then told Gohan to go home. It was Gohan who chose to come back and risk his life again. Goku did not drag Gohan into anything, like Chi-Chi says. And in fact, if you really want to be reductionist like this, you could make the case that Goku has saved Gohan's life 3 times at this point, and Chi-Chi has saved his life 0 times. So if we're really going by troll logic, we could say that. But again, this is not the moral quandary. I just want to touch upon that insane take that this was Goku's fault before we got started. Now, as to the moral quandary in question, let's look at what Chi-Chi does know, so we can better see her perspective. In the anime and manga, she was told by Roshi what occurred with Raditz, that Gohan has been kidnapped by the new Demon King, Piccolo, and that Goku is now dead. We don't see him telling her that Goku died to protect Gohan, but honestly, it's a 2 + 2 = 4 scenario. If an alien comes to the world and Goku dies while Gohan is kidnapped, and the alien is stopped because Goku is dead, it's pretty easy to see that Goku did wish to protect Gohan. Following that, in the anime, Chi-Chi watches most of the Saiyan fight through the television and Fortune Teller Baba's crystal ball. In the manga, we don't really see Fortune Teller Baba there, we only see her saying that even she cannot tell the future when the Saiyans arrive. The only source of information they get is from Bulma with the scouter that she got from Raditz, and Roshi being able to sense ki. Now, it is possible Bulma was able to hear Nappa and Vegeta's conversation from her scouter, but it's doubtful. So, Chi-Chi in the manga knows less than Chi-Chi in the anime, but at the same time, even the context that she has, it doesn't really bring her any useful context. So it's pretty much the same, in my opinion. So as Chi-Chi and everyone else head over, Korin tells her that Gohan is probably alive. She does not ask about Goku. Then when they land, she runs out of the airship. She does not look at Goku and leaps over him to reach Gohan. Krillin tells her that Gohan is fine. It's Goku that is hurt, but she never leaves Gohan's side anyway. Now, as to whether or not Chi-Chi was justified in leaping over her husband, there's a few perspectives we need to look at here. First is, of course, Chi-Chi's perspective, which I've already given, and it is what's currently in question. And I do want to point out that when I see people saying that you would need to be a mother to understand what she was doing, and then I also see mothers saying they would do the same in her position, as much as they might not want to hear this, just because you would do something does not mean that is correct. You could say that about anything, really. All that means is that it's understandable, which is a different thing. It reminds me of something that occurred on Twitter a few months ago. Someone put that Chi-Chi was right when she was trying to keep Gohan from going to Namek. And, Gohan is a 5 or 6-year-old child at the time, so it seems like she usually would be right. But we also know from the manga that Gohan was pivotal in the Namek saga, and without Gohan, the dead people would have stayed dead, and that the people who went there would have died as well. So, she wasn't right keeping Gohan from going to Namek, but she was understandable because it's her son and because he is very, very young. And those are two different things, being right and being understandable. Okay? If you are understandable, I can empathize with you. That doesn't necessarily mean that you're correct. If someone were to break into a liquor store and steal money to buy food for their family, that is understandable. That doesn't necessarily mean that it was the right thing to do. Right? Okay, so just saying that there is a difference between the two. Now, the first perspective was Chi-Chi's, like I said. The second perspective is Goku's perspective. And of course, while Goku is a nice guy and he won't hold it against Chi-Chi leaping over him, I think a lot of guys would be somewhat put off that his wife not only did not look at him or say, "I'll check on you in a sec, babe, I missed you," but she later blames him. Damn, that's kind of fucking horrible. And Goku and Chi-Chi's perspectives are usually the ones that people go to. But there's 2 more perspectives people never mention. Firstly, there is the creator's perspective. And secondly, there is Gohan's perspective. Now, I don't mean Gohan at the exact moment, because obviously he is unconscious. I mean Gohan in general. Now, let's do a thought experiment. Let's say that Yajirobe brought a camera to the fight, and that 10 or 20 years down the line, he shows the footage to adult Gohan. And Gohan essentially sees everything from our perspective, as if the anime is just from Yajirobe's point of view or his camera. What do you think Gohan would say? It's true, I am not a woman or a mother, but I am a son, and I would have to say that if I saw my mom treating my dad in such a dismissive and callous manner, I would have to ask her, like, Mom, did you actually love Dad when I was that age? And I don't think it's too far from what Gohan would think either, really. Like, again, it's not that Chi-Chi chose Gohan over Goku, it's that Chi-Chi just ignored Goku entirely, right? Now, the other perspective, we need to look at it from Toriyama and Toei's perspective. It's super clear that Toriyama made Chi-Chi to be a stereotypical, overbearing Japanese mother. And that's not a bad thing. Toriyama is predominantly a comedy writer, and he added funny stereotypical traits to a bunch of characters. But it's a part of the comedy when Chi-Chi dotes on Gohan and yells and screams at everyone else, particularly Goku, and also when Chi-Chi yells and screams at Gohan to finish homework. And the reason it's comedy is because she does it in such a fashion that the audience knows is silly, right? And her leaping over Goku was clearly drawn in a way to showcase that when the chips are down, she cares nothing about Goku compared to Gohan, once she became a mother, and that is supposed to be played for laughs. Now, do I think she does not care about Goku at all? No. Like I said, I quite enjoy their relationship, and though my own mom was strict and overprotective of me and my brother, I know that she and my dad love each other and always have. But it is also clear that her leap was meant to be seen as kind of ridiculous to audiences, because as I said earlier, she did not even tell Goku that she would be right there in a second, she just treated him like he was nothing. But, to throw Chi-Chi and her defenders a bone, I do realize that defending Chi-Chi is because having a strong maternal instinct is good. And finally, someone understands, right? Like, if a mother is seeing Chi-Chi being criticized, she might think that people think that having a strong maternal instinct should be criticized, and obviously not. Mothers should be protective. And I would like to say that Chi-Chi worrying about her 5-year-old over her husband is not really a bad thing. Gohan is a child, and Goku is an adult. Being worried over a child, yeah, is good, and people who empathize with Chi-Chi because of that are completely justified. Now, I will say, I do have a problem with people saying that Chi-Chi has seen Goku in a similar place before, and that she isn't worrying about him because of that, but that is fundamentally illogical. I know someone who has been shot. I also know that if someone shoots them again, they do not have a guarantee of surviving like they did earlier. So, Goku having a broken body a second time does not absolve him of worry. And I will also say, there is something to say about picking and choosing loved ones, even if a mom has a strong maternal instinct, and Goku being closer. Now again, not saying it's bad, but let me provide an example. Sometimes when I'm with my friends, and I don't mean my Dragon Ball friends, but some other friends, if we're bored, someone will go on Reddit and find a crazy story and send it to me, so I can read it aloud and provide commentary. People tend to like my voice, and I have pretty good reading comprehension skills. So I do it, I read it aloud. One time, I was sent a story of a married couple who had been together for 20 years. One night, they were both drinking and celebrating their anniversary, with their kids out of the house, and the wife, drunk, asks her husband if she and the kids were drowning, who would he save? The husband, after thinking about it, and thinking that they were just talking, says, I'd probably save you, meaning he would save the wife. Immediately, his wife went crazy. She was aghast and screamed at him for ever thinking about rescuing her over the kids, and that if he ever did that, she would kill him. And the guy was wondering if he was the asshole for answering the question honestly. And while Reddit usually is pretty toxic with the replies, I found I agreed with the replies this time. He was not the asshole because she asked a bad question. If you play a stupid game, you win a stupid prize, right? Like, there is no right answer to that sort of moral quandary. For a question like that, if he said he would save the kids, would she have been okay with that? Or would she then later remember that he considered her secondary? And then I saw another comment that talked about how a study was done before that shows that if given a very similar scenario, most of the time, a man would save his wife and a wife would save the kids. And that made sense to me, Because when I look back at the discourse over the Chi-Chi thing, 4 out of 5 people, at least that I could tell, defending Chi-Chi were women, and 4 out of 5 people thinking that she should have helped her spouse first were men. And what's more, in the story, the wife was so upset by what her husband said, the next day she went to their kids, 2 daughters and 1 son, and told them what their dad said. The daughters were distraught when they were told, but when she told her son, he laughed. And that kind of goes with the study. The daughters did not get it, but the son was like, well, yeah, I mean, dad has known you longer. So I think a part of the equation here is just the way the different sexes are like biologically wired, right? A man who is a husband and a father would, not all the time, but usually would likely save the wife. And a woman who is a wife and a mother would likely save the kid. Now, of course, again, this does not mean every man and every woman thinks the same and would agree on that, but it's just probable. So, to go back to Chi-Chi, let's sum up. Do I think Chi-Chi was wrong about worrying on Gohan more? No, I don't. Do I think she should have worried about her husband more than she did? Yeah, of course. Should she blame Goku for what happened? What the fuck? No. And at the end of the day, is there really a right answer to this moral question? Probably not. And this is why I make videos about this, because people tend to act like they have the definitive answer a lot of the time, when really there's a lot of nuance, and you really need to start thinking about things before, you say stuff in post. Again, this video is just my opinion, and it's just from what I gathered mulling it over for a day or two. But yeah, that is all I have to say on the matter at this time. I hope I made sense, and I want to thank everyone for listening to me ramble on. Please like and subscribe if you think I deserve it, and I always welcome comments. Just yesterday, I made an info video on Tolkien and orcs and the nature of evil on my other channel, and I think by now I have 70 views. But I bet with this video on Chi-Chi's jump, it's gonna explode. The algorithm is so strange. Okay guys, have a good one.